Cool.
What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you for tuning in on this Tuesday. Very exciting show. Friend of mine from back in the day when he was in Denver, now out in LA, my hometown. It's like we swapped places a little bit. Hunter Pritchett, chef partner at Atrium Los Feliz in Los Angeles, California. My friend, good to see you.
Likewise, man. Great to see you.
All right. So Atrium, give people kind of a little synopsis. What exactly is Atrium, the restaurants, what's it all about? And then we'll get a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, so Atrium, we are 19 months old. We've been closed and on pause for the last 3 months, but we reopen tomorrow, which is super exciting. We serve farm to table, dressed up new American food, sort of pulling from all the ethnicities of LA, the markets, the techniques, all that. But moreover, we're just an elevated neighborhood restaurant. Los Feliz is a great neighborhood, full of creative folks. It's a little bit Brooklyn-y. They just come and hang out, and it's a nice positive sort of community gathering place. We also have a little bar called Pinky's, and it's a little 80s sort of cocaine cocktail bar that just does fun snacks and gets down and dirty, plays good music and all that good shit. So yeah, it's a great place.
That is such a perfect way to paint the picture. A little cocaine bar. I was like, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can already see it.
It's sort of looks like a swim up bar inside, kind of 80s Italo disco type vibe. So
we're going to get back to that because I think the idea of escapist when it comes to like a design and concept is going to become more important because people want to get out of their house. So I'm interested in that. Where exactly is Los Feliz in LA?
So Los Feliz, they call it the East Side, but it's not. It's in between East Hollywood and Silver Lake, right below the Griffith Observatory. So right on Vermont. Vermont's a super long street. It's pretty cool. It goes all the way basically to like Carson, and it ends at the Griffith Observatory. So there's tons of stuff going on. It's a huge avenue through the city.
It was like a lost corridor for like, well, forever until recently, and it's definitely like catching vibes right now.
Yeah, and it's a great neighborhood. We're in between like two punk rock bookstores. We share our space or our building with a very avant-garde theater that always keeps it interesting. And there's a whole bunch of super weird boutiques, good long-time restaurants, long-time residences. We sort of slid right in. Just came to the neighborhood like respectful and friendly, and
good.
Injected some fresh life into it. And then all this crazy shit happened. So
yeah, crazy shit for sure. All right, we'll talk about crazy shit. Let's go back though. Take us way back. When did you first get yourself into this crazy industry? Take us back to that. How did that happen?
I will date myself, but all I wanted to do was buy a Discman. I got dumped with my grandparents for the summer. My parents were getting divorced. I lived in Vegas at the time, and I got dumped with my grandparents in Southwest Virginia. And all I wanted to do was buy like a sweet Discman at the Kmart with like 12 seconds of ESP, so I could listen to like my fucking bullshit Pennywise CD or something.
About Time? Come on. Literally, dude, the first CD I ever bought was About Time, Pennywise. Man.
Oh my God.
We're going to stop talking about restaurants. We're just going to talk about the punk ska scene of the 90s.
They were the first band to give me hearing damage. No joke. Like so
the best
loud.
Thing I've heard all day.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, at the time they were like $120, which was a shitload of money, and I was bored out of my skull. I was like 14. So my aunt's neighbor like managed the Long John Silver's down the street. So I basically like conned my way into like becoming the fry bitch at Long John Silver's in Radford, Virginia. Like all summer is great. So that's where I started. I got my Discman and like hung out with the older kids who were a bunch of like weird, country ravers, and just like deep, strange fast food folk. And my grandma would like come pick me up at 12:30 at night. I'd smell like, a fried shrimp covered in burns, like working like, those fryers that are like 4 foot, and like
massive.
Just remember like the shrimp, like, prickers like sticking in my fingers and shit, and just like covered in beer batter. But yeah, that's where I got my start. was
This
good.
is great. So clearly you fell in love with it right away, obviously, with the anecdotal story you just gave us.
Yeah.
Did you know, though, at that time that you were interested? Did you like the lifestyle, or did that part come later when you knew you were like meant to be in the industry?
I don't know. Like in retrospect, I think it was, pretty easy reward for the investment. No,
Yep.
not so much money, but definitely like getting shit done, and like, I don't know, if you're not into sports and really like at 14, like how many times can you do 100 things like over and over again and sort of do them well, It's hard to say. But did all that through high school, worked in sandwich shops, moved up to Vermont, worked in like hippie sandwich shops where sort of like the inmates ran the asylum. It was a bunch of college kids, hippies, little punks, and then just, started working at a brew pub, fried fish again, worked fish and chips and pulled up in bags of fries and breaded onion rings and, fried those little fucking chicken taquito hors d'oeuvres that Cisco sells. And
that work, it's easy for us to get cynical as we like ascend in the industry, and then all of a sudden you're at the chef driven restaurant, you're a chef owner, all these different things. And look, I mean, the food at Long John Silver is not where I want to go eat, yet I have so much respect, newfound respect for the people that work those jobs. And you're talking about the fry cook at the brew pub, the corner brew pub, is one of the most important people in the industry. So I like that we're getting to reflect on, like, we all started somewhere, and for you're reflecting on the hippie sandwich shops. It's like those guys aren't as serious about the industry as we are, yet they're integral to the industry. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, it's all stepping stone to somewhere if you want it to be. But either way, like, you get paid for your time, hopefully fairly, and get some tips and socialize and learn the humility of customer service, and especially, one-on-one, like, customer facing life and how to be an adult and talk to people and count money and like all the shit you didn't learn in high school. And, that's it. So
that's it.
Yeah, I did that, and then just sort of laddered up in Burlington, Vermont. Just worked at the best restaurant in town, the big bistro that's been there for like 30 odd years, and took a sous chef job before I was ready. Took a CDC job before I was ready, and then I moved to Vegas, and I really got serious with it and worked at some serious French fine dining joint that I struggled like hell at, honestly. So and it was hard, super hard. Same like French shit of having stuff thrown at you and being burned and like all that. But, learned a lot and learned that I don't need to ever do that to anybody. And, the trauma happened and I don't need to pass that on. It doesn't need to be generational trauma, kicking that shitty can down the road onto our, underlings or starters or whatever. So, I worked in Vegas for couple of years. It was right before the economy crashed, and then moved up to Denver. Started working for Frank Bonanno at Luca. That was the only job I ever had there. So I was there for like
so that's where we met when you were the chef at Luca, kind of modern Italian restaurants. And so what brought you then specifically to Denver to work at Luca?
We've been to Denver before. A bunch of my friends from Vermont, I was in Vegas. We all met in Denver and hung out, and sort of looking at moving there from Vegas. The girlfriend I had at the time, it's not about Vegas, and Vegas is Vegas, and living there is tough. So just decided to settle on it, and sort of that was back when you could sort of move around without a plan. I feel like, as the economy was like tanking around me, I remember like as I left, I saw one of those foreclosure tour buses like go by, and I was like, pretty good time to go. So I think that must have been like 2008, 7 or 8, maybe early 2008. So I moved up to Denver, like rented a house off Federal. The girlfriend I had promptly broke up with me, left me with the house and a dog. And then I had my friends from Vermont like move in to help me out so I wouldn't go bankrupt. Still went bankrupt. And then, after like Luca's summer break at the time, just started working there as a line cook and moved up. So
who are some of the people, so many people that we both know, who are some of the people you remember working with where you're just like so fucking stoked that they were on the schedule that day? I love being introduced or reintroduced to people.
I mean, Luca was great because it was a 5-day dinner only restaurant. So it was one shift, and like everyone was really good. And it was one of those like cross collaborative environments where everybody sort of lifts everyone else up. Minorly competitive, but more of just an underlying tone of like doing really well. So the chef at the time was Mike Peshek, who I think is working for like Rose Medical or something now.
Mike Smart got, after Lose, I think he got out of the industry as far as like the restaurant grind. Probably smarter than the rest of us, huh?
Smarter than the rest of us. He's a good one to talk to, though. I mean, I fucking love that guy, and he ran a great kitchen.
Yeah,
you know, he has awesome experience. Worked for Barbara Lynch in Boston, and just like honestly the nicest guy, and like culturally, I think laid down a very good foundation at that restaurant. It was great. And then so Mike ran it. I cooked fish, and then Brett Shaheen, who had Wooden Table, which is down in like Greenwood or South Denver, was the meat cook and sous chef at the time. And then Royce Oliveira, who has Wooden Table, was the pasta guy, or not Wooden Table. I can't remember his place's name. It's on Colfax, right next to it.
Yeah, not To the Wind.
To the Wind. That's
To the Wind. Yeah, To the Wind.
So yeah, Royce was there, and then Leanne, his wife, sort of worked at whatever Bones was before it was Bones. And yeah, so it was a good crew. Had a funny salad guy named Mike who definitely got out of the industry. He was a bit of a scholar. It was also great. And then sort of, you know, it cycled through and got some really good people in, pulled some good interns from around and sort of developed them. And everybody learned from each other and tried and failed and learned and tried and failed and learned. So it was good. And Frank sort of, you know, as long as we were doing good work, like he was always very supportive. And, you know, that was as he was going through a lot of growth. So we maintained and actually like grew that restaurant into something really, really good.
Yeah.
At the time, and made it more contemporary, you know, sort of got away from, you know, just red sauce and white sauce and really branched out and tried to make it modern, you know, did a lot of R&D trips. They would pay for like a week of R&D stage at the time. So, you know, they knew the value of like sending people out and sort of bringing back what's happening, at least on the coast at the time, bringing it back to Denver and really like keeping those restaurants sort of at the top of mind in the Denver dining community. So it was great. You know, I learned a ton.
Love it. Then what brought you out to LA, right? You ended up working with John and Vinny from Animal fame and all that. What brought you out to LA? Was it that job specifically or what?
He came out for a visit and did like R&D trips and just wanted to get out for the winter. My wife applied to UCLA to a school within it and got in, and then we saw how much it would cost and then canceled. Yeah, would you? Canceled that. And then just needed more of a change. I mean, at the time, like, there's nothing to do in Denver after 10, you know, and we're, you know, hospitality committed and sort of need that reciprocation from the city we lived in and really couldn't get it there at the time. You know, and Katie had been there for 8 years. I'd been there for 4, which is kind of how long I've ever been anywhere. And just sort of picked up sticks. I mean, just felt really small. And, you know, it was before the huge growth boom in Denver. So yeah, it's just, you know, came out, sunshine, could skip winter. I mean, I'm from Vermont, so I've seen enough snow for a lifetime.
You're over it.
Yeah.
My mom always jokes. It's funny. She like never curses yet. She always jokes about the weather. Goes, it's another fucking beautiful day. I was like, yeah. You sound like you're complaining. It's always beautiful there. The dream job in Southern California, let me tell you, growing up there, the dream job is being a weatherman because you get paid 6 figures to say it's 72 and sunny. Back to you, Bob. Like that's your whole job. They actually are mostly surfers. They spend their time telling you high tide, low tide, and swells versus actual weather because there is no weather. So
there's nothing. Wind.
Total Southern California geekdom there. But so LA, you make the move. You're working there, highly acclaimed restaurant. You open the new restaurant. What was the restaurant, the seafood focused restaurant in that group called?
Son of a Gun. So yeah.
Son of a Gun. Yep. And you know, making some waves there. And then kind of let's fast forward. I want to get some time in on Atrium. Fast forward us. Then you decide to open your own restaurants, right?
Yeah,
be a chef partner. You hadn't learned your lesson to this point. Talk about Talk about getting into a project like that. How did that come about?
It's through the network. I've sort of worked for one of these partners before. That restaurant imploded, but sort of got out of it positively and really no fault of mine. And then just sort of stayed a network. I opened a place like down the street, maybe 2.5 years ago. He came in, caught up, and he's like, "Do you know anybody looking for a job?" And where I was at, it's very apparent that my time was ending. So I was like, "Yeah, me," and just came up here, looked at the floors, looked at the space, sort of checked how much it cost per square foot, noticed all the street traffic, noticed the neighborhood, noticed it's a restaurant that people want in their neighborhood. It was at the time, it is an underserved neighborhood for a modern LA restaurant, as ridiculous as that sounds. But I realized there was a spot. The place I was at before was not wanted in the neighborhood. I did the best I could with what I had. But yeah, that's sort of the difference. Hold on one second. What's up?
You're opening a restaurant, man. Do your thing.
They're in my computer bag.
They're made out already?
One is signed. Sorry.
No. You're good. Let's get right into that. So the neighborhood needs you guys. COVID-19 happens. Fucking crazy. You guys shut down now for 100 days. And the reason there's people in the restaurant right now, as you are at the restaurant, is you guys are opening back up. So let's talk about that a little bit. What's happening? What are you thinking about? What things are you steadfast on that were like, religion for you before? And what things are you saying, you know what? We're not fucking doing that anymore. We're going in a different direction. So give us a little bit of insights. What's happening with Atrium coming out of the pandemic?
Yeah, so we shut down like 100 days ago, and business waned off, in those first 2 weeks of March, and I think, shut it like maybe on the 19th or something. And then did some sitting and thinking, and made a list of things I want to keep and things that we should keep and have to keep, and then made a whole new list of new things that we have to do. And it's like, how do those intermesh? How do we bring back the people we want to bring back? And then the PPP loan is another one. So it's this super weird Venn diagram of a restaurant, as they always are, and just seeing how it's going to work. There's a lot of things that are holy to the restaurant, but it's mostly food and product. Service, I like a nice restaurant. This is supposed to be a place where I would want to go. I don't want to go to a restaurant right now. So that's sort of a weird conundrum I've put myself into. But our reopening plan is basically all outside. Luckily, the weather is really nice. So we'll spread out down this patio behind me, and then onto the street, onto Vermont over there. It's a pretty nice street. There's good shade, trees. And then we have a little dead space right here with a garage door that we'll redo and sort of string lights and make it like a covered patio, essentially. Everything goes on paper in a food tray. Everybody gets a greenware fork, knife, picnic pack, just sealed up. Water, we will offer bottled water. We'll offer our filtered tap. And then, cocktails in PET compostable cups. So trying to keep the cost of business about even with all these disposables and hand sanitizer, gloves, and masks, and all the shit. It's still cheaper than server layer, but really figure out how to try to keep hospitality in this. And luckily, we've always been very nice, and our customers are fucking amazing. They're super gracious, and we've had 2 shitheads in here thus far, which is great. And we haven't always done an amazing job.
18 months old. There's a lot of shitheads out there.
A lot of shitheads, and I think it's being in a less fancy setting. It's still a very nice restaurant. It's fitted very well. It's casual but fine. I think it's just that demographic of people hanging out, or maybe they're just dismissive and actually don't care about you enough to make your life miserable.
Do you feel like you can still express yourself as talented a chef as you are, as talented as any chef out there that you are? Can you still express yourself as a chef on paper goods, and the level of hospitality that's going to be there with people wearing masks and all of the awkwardness and cleanliness, can you still express yourself as a chef?
Yeah, I mean, I think I learned a little bit ago that it's not really about me expressing myself. It's not my top tier priority. We've all been to those ambitious restaurants. I've been that ambitious person that's, you know, cooks for yourself. This is sort of time to get back to the distilled version of what we do, just offering a place to eat. You know, it can't be a community gathering place because, you know, there is no community 6 feet apart and no visible mouths. So it's got to be like comfortable and caring. And yeah, you know, I have like gold plated silverware here, you know, or, you know, fancy, like, you know, Fortessa gold, like white gold fucking, they're $5.50 a piece per fork, you know, like those are the things that sort of like get in your way and just get added on to the cost of operating a restaurant these days. Is like spending this exorbitant amount of money, you know, on vibe, which is so intangible, and it's something that generates profit, but only in a minuscule way. If you can, you know, add that extra $3, you know, per piece of silverware, like, does it add up? Is it necessary?
I mean, look, Hunter, I think you get it. Like, it puts you in a financial situation where you have to make usually one of two decisions: charge people more or pay your people less. And those two things have caused a lot of issues in the industry that have become systemic. And so I really appreciate you saying that, because you know what? Some of the best food, I talk about this all the time, and I'm sure you've had a similar experience. Been to a bunch of 3 Michelin stars and paid $800 for a meal, $300 per person plus wine. And I've been to little hawker stands. I have the same goosebumps, the same emotional reaction, different memory and experience, but same reaction when I have a $300 meal or when I have a dumpling that costs $3 and a nickel. And I think that's part of what we're reflecting on this moment, is like, your food does not taste any less. It is not diminished by how it is presented. It is truly like the expression of the neighborhood, of your team, and you're kind of just the conduit for that. So I really appreciate you reflecting on that. And you talked about vibe, though. I want to touch on that, because you talked about the cocaine bar. There is a way to create escapist vibe, take people to another place, export them. Like, totally. That still matters, but I don't think it matters what kind of fork they have. It's energy. It's managing energy versus pieces of shit that don't matter. Talk about that a little bit, because you are creating a completely like transcendent vibe if you're hitting the like cocaine bar right away. I'm thinking of like Miami Vice in LA. Exactly. Like, talk about that.
It's interesting. I don't know when we'll open it, because it's fucking tiny, you know. So that's the other thing. I mean, it's like 30 by 30. But yeah, it's supposed to be completely different. It's just across the hall from our front door, and it's sort of this completely different world of like pastel, tile, high seats, upside down palm trees, like disco ball, crazy, and it gets weird.
Absolutely hideous, yet perfect and spot on, right? That's
exactly.
I love it.
Just, yeah, it's like Milan in like 1984. You know, like it's a place, all right. I've aged out of it, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, hopefully we get it open. You know,
you're not allowed at your own bar.
It's, you know, I don't deal with the kids like that anymore. Jesus Christ, they're crazy here. They're fucking nuts. But I appreciate them.
Remember, that was you too when you were in Vegas. I'm sure how quickly we forget.
I was such a mess till I moved here. Who dries out in LA, honestly? So
that, you know what? I like that. I hear that for sure. Let's talk about your team for these last couple minutes.
Sure.
Your team struggling for sure. You mentioned before we got on a little bit of like, you're rethinking tipping, you're rethinking who you're bringing back on, because you want to make sure that they're in a safe environment, that they're in an environment where, you know, they have a little bit of extra cushion, which they've never had in the industry from unemployment. So give us a little thought processes if you're looking at bringing back your team and building up kind of a new team.
Yeah, I mean, this pandemic has exposed like all the ugly bits, man. Like, and just seeing like, even though $1,200 payments and $600 stipends, unemployment are no amount of money whatsoever. People are so fucking impoverished and over leveraged and like deeply, deeply poor that it's made a huge difference. Huge difference. For me, I'm making much less. But for my cooks and relying on minimum wage and our tip share that we had in existence with servers, they're still doing better. Plus, with the risk assumed of actually working,
right,
transporting to and from, not being there at all, I would be remiss to pull them out of the unemployment cycle, especially with a gamble.
Yeah, it's true.
So we're going to start small. It's like food truck, basically wheeling a food truck into the restaurant and serving it like that. I'll run it out to all the tables. Everyone will order online, and then build a business back. And hopefully I could bring back as many people as possible. My sous chefs will be first, just because I'm having a kid in August, and they'll have to cover for me. Thank you. And that's a whole nother layer to this mess, is the new baby and paternity leave. But yeah, everyone's in a good place and like hanging at home, keeping in touch with them sort of weekly. We all share like what we're eating for dinner, send a bunch of GIFs, stupid memes, and just keep tracking it.
Though, right? That matters. I feel like it can seem like it's a little thing. I think that is the biggest thing that can happen right now. When I hear that, I'm filled with joy, because I know, as crazy as it is, that little interaction or banter, some shit talking, it really matters.
And like culturally, like this place is great. I've tried as hard as fucking possible to make good culture, and kitchen culture in LA is absolute trash. And really, it's an abusive sort of two-job state where either everyone's sort of on their way to the next place, or stagnant because it's too risky to jump out of their job and go from there. And I've seen some absolutely horrible shit in LA kitchens, so it's one of those places where I tried to fix what I'd seen in the past. So checking in with them and just like letting them know, or they matter, or they vent, or I trade eggs for oranges with the cook and check in on them. That's it, and it takes really no effort from me. I don't socialize anyway. It's me and my wife and my animals. So it's actually like good for me. Better than I talk to my cooks and like talk somebody's ear off, talk to my neighbor, or like talk to the fucking grocery store checkout person who just wants to get out of there. So, it's those little things you can do to just like humanize yourself and, be vulnerable and say, I don't actually know what's going on right now. But here's the scope of it, and I want to keep you guys safe and paid and healthy until everything's guaranteed and you can assess your own risk in coming back. So
that's it.
Well, it's weird. So much responsibility. Like I already like bite off too much. I have fucking boundary issues. And like I give a lot to my people, but to add like the new epidemiologist hat plus a fucking professional sanitizer, like, man, that's a lot of hats. So
it's a true story. It's interesting because I'm hearing you talk. I was like, God, it's just what a struggle it is for you personally and for so many. And I have a lot of empathy for that. And at the same time, I'm really grateful that you are struggling with it, because it shows how thoughtful you are. And I think that is a good position to be in, because like you said, it can be complete hot garbage in the toxic environment of a restaurant culture. And just the fact that you're trying to shift that modality, I think, is important. So I really appreciate it. Hunter, get back to it, man. I love that there's some energy in the background. I love that you're actually having to check in with people because you're opening a restaurant. Like
what is going on?
So I appreciate it. We'll keep checking in, brother. I am grateful to have you on the show, my friend. Take care.
It was great to talk with you, dude.
You as well. Cheers. Yes. Hunter Pritchett. I love how thoughtful he is through all of this. And so many of the people I get to interact with are so thoughtful about this. It's a real struggle, a real balancing act of figuring out how they navigate forward. Everything. If you're in a restaurant, and if you're not in a restaurant and you're watching this, it's so hard to understand everything about what what you came up with in the industry has completely shifted. Certain things will become pillars once again, yet they need to be rebuilt from nothing. And so many things that were matter of fact and status quo in the industry, we're recognizing we're completely wrong, and there's an opportunity. So grappling with the challenge and the opportunity, I think, is what I see reflected in the way that Hunter is thoughtfully reflecting on the moment, trying to navigate that. So I really appreciate that. All right, Sophie, come on in here. You know, my favorite thing about this, Sophie, is like I can see your face down here reacting as we're going. And so the whole time, I'm like, I know exactly what Sophie's top 5 takeaways are going to be, because I can see when you react the strongest. You're like, that right there either was ridiculous, it was so poignant, whatever that is. So give us some thoughts on that conversation.
I did have the camera on today, and I was like, oh man, they just keep on talking about things, and I keep on being like, oh my god, like, oh my god.
You have to keep the camera on every time, because usually, right? So for everybody watching, practically, Sophie's in the background. She's putting comments up. She's putting things on the ticker. So anything you see is coming from Sophie. Usually I can see a box that says Sophie's name, but she has her camera turned off. Today, for the first time, she had her camera on. So I like see live reactions, and she has maybe not quite as animated with her hands, but her facial expressions are as animated as mine. So it was really fun for me as well to see you. So what are a couple things that you want to highlight?
I was really taken aback by how responsible he feels for all of his people. And I thought that was really wonderful, because it's just so funny. He started at Long John Silver's as a 14-year-old. And I was hearing the stories of his grandmother picking him up at midnight, and I was like, oh, Lord. Man, these restaurant people are so intense. Yeah. So I thought it's crazy. He has a baby coming, and he's reopening his restaurant, and it's all outside, and it's the size of and he can't open up his cocaine bar.
That's the saddest part of the whole story. I was like, people need the cocaine bar right now more than ever, I think, for sure. So I'm with you there.
Yeah. So I really loved how I really loved that people kept on coming up to him, honestly. I thought it was kind of funny in the beginning, and then people just kept on coming up to him, and it's like, you're still working at the same time and trying to show everyone that you're opening, but also like people need to know these things. Like something was in his computer bag. I was like, I understand.
Honestly, he did, and people do it all the time. They like apologize for like little mishaps, and I'm like, it's the best part. It's the best part because it's the most real. It's not like there's questions. We haven't rehearsed this. I didn't send them a script. There's nothing. It's just like us having conversation, and it's real life. And the fact that he's taking time to speak with us while he's trying to open up a restaurant and reflecting on like having an existential crisis and a business crisis at the same time, like it means so much to me, and I know to you, for them to take some time. So I really appreciate that. All right, that's really great. So announcement time. Yes.
I have the announcements.
Yes, we got to work with, can you guys even see? Yes, RL Masks. We got to work with, we got to have Renee Leong on the show from Singapore, who got connected us through Brett Reynolds, who's been great at connecting us with people who were on the show, especially with his time in Asia. So we got to reach outside of the state quite a bit last week and got to try out these masks. Really interesting, amazing, super comfortable, super breathable, which most masks that I've tried, and I've tried a couple dozen, have not been, as well as they have some really interesting technology with the nano oxide, zinc oxide fabric. I don't even know. And a fluorocarbon spray. Basically, you can breathe and even water droplets can't get in. So it's very lightweight and simple, yet like super high tech. If cloth can be high tech, I guess it is. So she sent us some masks. I got to use a mask. There's no sponsorship or endorsement. And I usually don't endorse products, but I'm telling people, go get these masks because they're the best ones I've come across for sure. And they're branding them, which I think restaurants are going to absolutely should use this opportunity to brand masks. I think there's a lot of brand equity potential in that. So she also gave us some extra masks. So we have 6 masks to give away. We did a little giveaway over the weekend. So tell us who is coming home with these masks.
So we went, we have 2 winners from Instagram, and they are Monique and Yiling. Yay!
All right, whoa, yay! Streamers. I wish we could do effects and stuff on this show.
No, I don't have them right now. Sorry. And then on Facebook, we had 4 winners, and they are La Katrina Grill, Elizabeth Silva, Susie Kim, and Sylvia Hernandez. So
awesome.
Yay.
Wait. La Katrina Grill is Sylvia Hernandez.
Oh my God.
I guess she gets 2. That's okay.
She got
we were
2.
picking at random. You picked at random. You
I
don't
picked
know.
it random.
I know. That's okay.
I used
She
the
gets 2
computer
masks.
program.
We're sticking with it. She gets 2 masks. And, she runs Kamal. This is really funny. Betsy's literally picking up tortillas from Kamal right now. I told her, if you see Sylvia, get a picture. So we'll make sure that one of the other ladies that works at Kamal gets that other one. I'm sure Sylvia will pass that on, which is really great. So it was fun, our first giveaway. And I'm excited that people are going to get these masks here. Like now I'm going to waste some time and show people one of these masks because they probably haven't seen them. Yes, I pulled out a black one. I, of course, have a black one because it's like a ninja mask, but it's super lightweight. It's like stretchy. You can feel it. It feels like a good material. You can like wash it 150 times and it squeezes out. Now I feel like I'm a spokesperson for them, but I'm not. I just really like this mask. And I'm happy that we got to interact with them. And, they're giving money back to research around COVID. So they checked all the boxes. It was super cool. So, all right, everybody. Long episode today. Appreciate it. Giveaway. Everyone's getting their masks. We'll connect with you guys on social to make sure that you get those. Thank you to Hunter Pritchett. Thanks, Sophie. Appreciate you guys. Cheers.